Part 20. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 191. Chapter 191, No Way Out. Another person who is young and strong, and the monsters and beasts would avoid him when they see him, is a man. Thinking of the man punching the leopard in the sky, why did the girl in front of him look so similar to the man when he first approached them to fight? Could it be that the girl in the red dress is also a pervert? The more you fight, the stronger you get. In the end, beating them is just like playing. When the sky leopard thought of this, its two defensive shields were also broken by its attack. He cautiously looked at the girl in the red dress who had taken the opportunity to avoid it. He looked more and more like that man. That man was only 10 years old at the beginning, but he grew older every time he came, and became stronger and stronger. Almost all the monsters in the depths of Xuanhuan forest were trained by him. So much so that as soon as they sensed his aura, they automatically fled away. The most important thing was not to be beaten as a sandbag or badly beaten. Even though they are monsters, no matter how thick-skinned they can't resist his violent beatings. They are already very miserable if there is one of them. If another one comes out, they will not be allowed to cultivate and live a good life. Could it be that they have cultivated to this level just to be a sparring partner? Xianxia looked at the sky leopard in confusion. It was originally attacking very fiercely, but why did it suddenly become stunned? No matter why it was in a daze, she would not miss this opportunity. She raised the long rhombus spear in her hand again, and this time she still attacked it with full strength. However, while fighting, she had begun to absorb spiritual energy to replenish the consumed spiritual energy. Otherwise, if this continues, her spiritual power will be exhausted after a few rounds. As soon as she started to absorb the spiritual energy, she suddenly discovered that the speed of absorbing the spiritual energy was actually several times faster than before. Is it because she absorbed the 5-system power from the 5-system spirit lake before? She didn't check her body carefully after she was promoted. She looked inside her meridians and found that they were indeed wider. The spiritual energy entered her body without any hindrance. When it entered the Danshan, it was directly affected by Panga flower. Convert it into spiritual energy and store it. After sensing her consciousness again, she found that with a slight movement of her consciousness, she could easily raise her consciousness to the top of Xuanhuan forest, look down at the forest, and spread it to the surrounding areas. This feeling only occurred in the Valley of Fire, the secret realm of Lingquan. Once when she broke the gentleman's formation, her consciousness was above the Valley of Fire, and she easily saw that the roads in the Valley of Fire were the gentleman's formation. She also tried it later, but she never had her consciousness appear in this way again. Now you can actually do it easily. Even if it is not because of absorbing the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spiritual lake, it is also because of the improvement of cultivation. She is now a senior level cultivator. By the way, speaking of Zun level cultivation, she can now transmit sounds through the air. King level, you can fly in the air, and Zun level, you can transmit sounds through the air. This is the benefit of low-level continental monks after being promoted. However, she has no chance to verify the sound transmission right now. These thoughts are long to talk about, but they only appeared in her mind for a moment, and checking the meridians and consciousness was just a thought. At this time, her attack had already reached the sky leopard. This time she did not use a defensive shield. Instead, while attacking with the chameleon spear, she turned the gold power into an attack wave. She used the space left by the chameleon spear to attack, closing the loopholes in her chameleon spear attack. Sky Leopard was so stunned that he saw the girl in the red dress changing her attack tactics. He was even more sure that she was definitely another little pervert who was looking for him as a sparring partner. This can also explain why she ran towards him instead of running, because his pressure was so strong at that time. With the girl's cultivation level, it was impossible for it to kill her, but it would have to devote 9 levels of cultivation strength to do so. In that case, it will also become the weakest state, and it will take time to restore its cultivation. Although only 1 day is enough, if a monster that is not on its side comes to seize the territory in this day, I will definitely not be an opponent. He couldn't even save his life. After thinking about it, Sky Leopard immediately made a decision. Whoever wants to practice with her can do it. He will not accompany her. Therefore, after blocking Yan Xiangluo's attack, he found an opportunity to turn around and run away. Yan Xiangluo was still in an offensive stance when she saw her powerful opponent running away. Question marks filled her head. What was going on? Shouldn't she be the one who should run? We have only fought for a few rounds, why did the stronger side run away instead? If she hadn't known about Xi's strength, she would have thought that she was strong enough to crush the Sky Leopard's cultivation. He was stunned for a while, then he took back his long spear, touched his forehead, and then asked Zhetiandeo, what's going on with it? Why did it run away? Jishan was stunned for a moment at first, but he soon understood the reason. It is a little speechless. If this is the case, if the owner wants to experience it, can he just knock on the door himself? Master, the little boy who absorbed the power of the 5 elements from the 5 elements spirit lake once used this method to find monsters to train with. That boy came once a year since he was 10 years old. 5 years later, he fought all over Wanghai Forest. Invincible. These monsters ran away when they saw him, even losing their territory, so that when he came back to Wanghai Forest, he couldn't see a single monster. The Sky Leopard just now probably imagined you and that boy. We are the same people. The price to pay for killing you is too high. I don't want to waste my strength on sparring, so I can only run away. After hearing Jishan's explanation, Yan Xiangluo was speechless. Someone had already gone through her emotional path, and now she had no way to go. If all monsters think like this, how can she still practice? Are all monsters so smart? Yan Xiangluo said decadently. The monsters all have spiritual consciousness. The monsters here have lived for more than 1,000 years. There are quite a few who have lived for thousands of years. The Sky Leopard just now has lived for more than 1,800 years. No matter how stupid you are, you can learn from it smarter. Zhetian was born and raised here, so he naturally knows these monsters very well. The world of monsters is more cruel than their plant world, and monsters that have survived to this day with a high level of cultivation have a hard-working brain. Then how can I practice? Yan Xiangluo was a little speechless. When she first came in, she was worried about her life. Now, after only 20 days, she can roam the depths of the sea and forest? And not by relying on his own strength, but by borrowing the light of another unknown person. Let me think about it. Zhetian was also thinking of a solution. The master must have experience, but after the Sky Leopard ran away, soon all the monsters in Wanghai Forest knew about it. If you want your master to gain experience, it's not a good idea to just knock on the door. Hey, yes, you can't knock on the door, but you can go to the door. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 192. Chapter 192. Looking for a sparring partner. Master, aren't you an alchemist? The master has the healing elixir that the demonic beasts need most. It's useless to start early. The master uses the elixir to exchange fighting opportunities with them and let them train with them. This way, the master's safety is guaranteed. Being protected and getting experience at the same time, isn't this the best of both worlds? Zhetian wanted to applaud himself for coming up with such a good idea and then start praising himself. Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up, this was a good idea, and then she thought of her own knot in her heart and sighed, what about my knot in my heart? The master has a knot in his heart? What knot? Zhetian was so surprised, why didn't he see that his master had a knot in his heart? Yan Xiongluo briefly told Jishan her experience. That's it, because my desire to have a healthy body and live for a long time has made me fear death. When I came here, I mainly wanted to untie this knot. Zetian looked at her speechlessly. Master, do you have a fear of death? Why didn't I see it? Although what the owner said must be true, it really didn't see that the owner had any fear of death. Seeing the sky leopard, a monster that was so much stronger than her, she didn't hesitate at all and just excitedly pampered him. Is this called fear of death? What kind of person is he who is not afraid of death? Zetian's words made Yan Xiongluo startled, and then she looked at herself in disbelief. Looking at his hands, looking at his body, he realized that he had no fear of death when he faced the sky leopard. It turned out that unknowingly, the knot of fear of death had been untied, and she didn't even notice it. Yan Xiongluo laughed, and the knot in her heart was relieved. It was great. Ha ha ha, the laughter became louder and louder. It turned out that her fear of death was far less deep-rooted than she thought. It seemed that he had scared himself. When Jishan saw his master who was laughing from hee to laughter, he felt that his master not only had no fear of death, but was actually very bellicose. It could already hear the unconcealed fighting spirit in its master's laughter. Sure enough, as soon as its thought came to an end, Yan Xiongluo waved her hand and said, "I'll do as you said. Let's go and negotiate a deal with the monster." After saying that, Yan Xiongluo discerned the direction and continued walking towards the direction of the spirit clan that Zetian said. Zetian didn't stop it. Although there was a powerful monster on the path it chose, the current owner was no longer the previous owner. The owner was an alchemist. As long as there were pills that could heal the monster's injuries, there would be no monster. The beast is not tempted, but as long as it is tempted, there is no monster that cannot be defeated. No matter how strong the monster is, it will encounter bottlenecks. Monster beasts are different from spiritual beasts. When spiritual beasts encounter bottlenecks, they will only need to retreat for a period of time before they can figure it out and overcome the bottleneck. Monsters are also different from humans. Humans have alchemists to help. Things that can be solved with just one pill may take hundreds of years to break through with monsters, or even longer. This is also why beasts are so crucial in forming spiritual consciousness. A single thought can make a huge difference. Yan Xiongluo didn't go looking for the sky leopard again. She had already fought with it just now. She was no match for the sky leopard in another fight. In fact, even if the sky leopard didn't escape just now, she would still find a chance to escape. There are so many monsters in Wanghai Forest, so there is no need to catch just one to practice, just use whoever you meet. Yan Xiongluo absorbed the spiritual energy as she walked, and then let go of her consciousness, which looked down from the sky again. Yan Xiongluo suppressed the excitement in her heart and slowly spread her consciousness. The consciousness spread over Wanghai Forest. The boundless green filled her entire consciousness, like a vast green sea, like the entire forest. All under the control of her consciousness. Until she encountered a powerful spiritual pressure, which was different from the pressure of monster beasts, Yan Xiongluo knew that she was encountering a powerful spiritual beast. She suddenly stopped her spiritual exploration and immediately took back the control of her spiritual consciousness. Within a radius of 5 miles around her, the pressure of the spiritual beast's consciousness disappeared as expected. She breathed a sigh of relief and controlled her consciousness to explore into the forest. She can clearly detect the movement of every plant and tree within the range of her consciousness, and she can clearly sense even the young caterpillars hidden in the grass. She continued to walk forward, checking as she walked, keeping her consciousness within 5 miles of her. Soon, she sensed the power of a monster in front of her. Its strength was about the same as that of the sky leopard. To be precise, it was slightly inferior. This is suitable for being her sparring partner. Yan Xiongluo walked excitedly towards the location of the monster, thinking in her mind which of the elixirs she had refined would be liked by the monster. She was getting closer and closer to where the monster beast was, but there was no movement from the monster beast at all. Her reaction was completely different from before when she just stepped into the sky leopard's territory and the sky leopard threatened her with force and then came out to attack her very quickly. It's like no monster exists. It seems that Xianxia is right. The sky leopard has already told the nearby monsters about her. In less than a day, I am afraid that all the monsters in Wanghai Forest will know about her existence. Fortunately, I plan to use the elixirs to trade with the monsters, otherwise I wouldn't have even thought about practicing. Soon, she came to a cave. The area around the cave was very clean and there were no weeds at all. For those who didn't know, she thought someone lived here. It seems that this monster is very tidy. The monster inside, "Can I negotiate a deal with you?" Xianxia shouted loudly. The monsters inside paid no attention to her, and they didn't even change their breath. Xianxia seduced without giving up at all, "I have various healing elixirs in my hand." Sure enough, as soon as these words were spoken, the aura of the monsters in the cave suddenly changed. It fluctuated greatly, but then calmed down. It was obvious that he did not believe her. "They are all of perfect quality." Xianxia didn't believe it. The monsters in the healing elixir of perfect quality would not be tempted. Sure enough, just as she said these words, a monster jumped out of the cave, and Xianxia's eyes lit up. What a beautiful rabbit! It turns out that the monster living in this cave is a snow-white rabbit. It is not very big, but it is twice the size of an ordinary rabbit. Its snow-white fur is shiny, and it looks like it is extremely well nourished. Her eyes were like two rubies, staring closely at Xianxia, as if to confirm the accuracy of her words. Xianxia knew that monsters could not speak, but their spiritual consciousness was very strong and they could understand her words. Xianxia didn't hesitate and said directly to the beautiful rabbit monster, "I need some training. I'll exchange elixirs with you. You can be my sparring partner until I use all my strength. How about that?" End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 193. Chapter 193. It's hard to fool. The rabbit monster's ruby-like eyes suddenly lit up, but it couldn't speak and couldn't communicate with Xianxia. Xianxia naturally knew this and said to Xianxia, "Xianxia, please communicate with it." The implication is to see what requirements it has, and as long as she can do it, she can trade. Xianxia, who had been serving as a hair accessory on Xianxia's head, then spread out his vines and appeared in front of the rabbit monster. The rabbit monster was very surprised when it saw Xianxia. It looked at Xianxia and then Xianxia, then at Xianxia and then at Xianxia, before confirming their relationship and why in their eyes the little treasure hunterling was. The vine was used as a hair accessory on the head of the girl in the red dress, and she didn't notice it even though her breath was restrained. "Bai Fei, she is my master. She has just absorbed the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spiritual lake. She needs to practice, but she will not let you train with her for free. She can give you healing pills as a reward. What do you think, Jishan? Use your spiritual consciousness to communicate with rabbit monsters." Bai Fei is the name of the white rabbit monster. It is also one of the few monsters with names. It heard that there was a girl in the 9 families named Fei. It thought it sounded very good, so it used it for itself. Add the word Fei to the color of its fur, and it's called Bai Fei. From this name, it can also be seen that the white rabbit monster is a woman. "Jishan, you actually recognize someone as your master." Bai Fei was surprised, and a voice of surprise rang out in Jishan's consciousness. "What's the matter? What's wrong with me recognizing my master? After recognizing my master, I can leave here. Besides, my master is very powerful. Just tell me if you are willing to be my master's sparring partner. Zetian has no regrets about accepting the title. Lord, it thinks its master is awesome. Seeing that Jishan's attitude was so resolute, Bai Fei didn't ask why it recognized its master. He glanced at Yan Xiangluo and asked, there are levels of alchemists in the human race. Not all elixirs are useful to us monsters. What level of alchemist is your master? Are her elixirs really of perfect quality? Jishan really doesn't know the level of his master's alchemy. As for whether it is of perfect quality, as long as the master says it is, then it must be. Master, what level of alchemist are you? Zetian asked. Yan Xiangluo spit out 2 words, 6th grade. Jishan continued to talk to Bai Fei, you heard it, my master is a 6th grade alchemist. You should know that this is a low-level continent, and a 6th grade alchemist is already the highest level. Bai Fei said with some disbelief, the 6th grade alchemists in the lower continent are all old men and old ladies. Your master looks like he is only a teenager. How can he be a 6th grade alchemist? Zetian was a little annoyed by Bai Fei's distrust. My master won't lie. She said she is a 6th grade alchemist. She is a 6th grade. The power of the entire 5-system spirit lake will be absorbed by my master. She is a 6th grade alchemist. What's so strange? My master is a pervert level genius. Xiangluo could hear Jishan speaking with his spiritual consciousness. The corner of her mouth twitched. She was a genius at the level of pervert. Is this a compliment to her? But I also understand, it seems that this white rabbit monster does not believe that she is a 6th grade alchemist. Ask what type of healing elixir it needs, and I will refine it on site. Yan Xiangluo said to Zetian, there was no other way, the monster was too difficult to fool. Zetian became more confident after hearing what Yu Xiangluo said, waving the vines arrogantly, Bai Fei, did you hear that? My master said, tell me what kind of healing elixir you need, and my master will refine it for you on the spot. You will know whether my master is a 6th grade alchemist and whether the elixirs he refines are of perfect quality. When Bai Fei heard this, it was okay. As long as she could really give it a perfect quality 6th grade healing elixir, it didn't matter whether she refined it or not. Just practice as a sparring partner. There's nothing wrong with it. A man can still bend and stretch. Well, what is there to be taboo about as a woman? Okay, I need a pill to treat the congestion of my meridians due to injuries. As long as your master can give me such a pill, I can train with you. Bai Fei agreed. After Jishan conveyed Bai Fei's words to Yan Xiang, Yan Xiangluo glanced at Bai Fei. Her meridians were blocked. The body structure of monsters is different from that of humans. I wonder if she can treat monsters? However, the white rabbit monster would not trust him, let alone let him treat it. Xingmu blinked and said to Jishan, Jishan, would you like to ask if the elixir used by white rabbit people to treat blocked meridians is effective on you monsters? My medical skills are also good. I can give it a look and then refine it specially. Give it a suitable elixir. Jishan glanced at Bai Fei and said, Master, it doesn't trust its master, and it's impossible for him to get close enough to show it its body. Then just pretend I didn't say anything. Yan Xiangluo just wanted to give it a try. Since Zetian thought White Rabbit wouldn't agree, forget it. She waved her slender hand, and the medicinal materials for refining the meridians blocking elixir were suspended in front of her. With a thought, the stone nest appeared in front of her eyes, and her own fire flames fell to the bottom of the stone nest. Then, the medicinal materials were thrown in one after another. Go in. Bai Fei and Zetian were both stunned. They had also seen the Huang family, a famous alchemy family among the 9 families, refining elixirs. It took a while just to prepare, and then they had to weigh themselves before they could start refining the elixirs. In comparison, they felt that Xianluo alchemy is just like playing. Where are the nervous and solemn expressions of the alchemists of the Huang family? Can this really refine the elixir of perfect quality, or is it a 6th grade elixir? Are all the children from lower continents so powerful? Although they were all confused, Zetian was after all the plant spiritual pet of Yan Xiangluo. After a moment of doubt, he soon believed that Yan Xiangluo was really capable. Otherwise, how could Pangu Space recognize its master? But Baifei didn't know that Yan Xiangluo had the Pangu dimension, but although she still doubted it, she knew in her heart that she wouldn't make elixirs in front of it without any real ability. Just wait with peace of mind. This elixir to heal blocked meridians is not something that I asked for, but I have always wanted to ask for it but never got it. If he could really get it today, he would be willing to be a sparring partner. A quarter of an hour later, an elixir was suspended from the stone nest, and the rich fragrance of elixir filled the air. Baifei couldn't help but close her eyes and stick her head out to sniff hard. It's so comfortable that you don't even need to hold it in your hands to know that this is indeed a pill that can cure blocked meridians. As for whether it is a 6th grade one, it actually doesn't know. However, it is of perfect quality that can be determined. Because it saw the golden lines on the elixir, it heard from the Huang family that perfect quality elixirs have golden lines. As soon as Yan Xiangluo raised her hand, the elixir fell into her hand. Putting away the flame and stone nest, Yan Xiangluo motioned to Zetian and asked, "Will this elixir work?" Jishan knows it will definitely work, but it wants to give its owner more benefits. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 194. Chapter 194 Black Sesame Filling. The elixir refined by his master, as a divine spiritual power, Zetian clearly sensed the medicinal properties of the elixir and imagined a healing effect. It was a little surprised by the master's elixir refining level. It was simply better than Huang, who thought highly of himself. The alchemist at home is too tall. Although it has experienced the poison administered by its master before and has taken the antidote given by the master, it has not really experienced the grade and quality of the elixir refined by the master. Now that I know it, it is naturally different from the previous opportunity where it just wanted to change its sparring partner. It wants to get some other benefits for its master. The monsters here all have some spiritual objects, and there are even some powerful monsters. There are many treasures, which may be needed by the master. Even if it is not needed now, the master's Pangu space is so big, and if you keep it in it, it may be useful in the future. Fortunately, Jishan did not transform, otherwise Baifei would definitely understand that it was plotting against people. Baifei, can this elixir be used to treat blocked meridians? Zetian asked with a somewhat unclear tone. Baifei, who was in the mood of being about to get the coveted elixir, didn't understand the meaning of Zetian's words, and nodded quickly, "Okay." If Jishan had a face, Baifei would definitely be able to see its proud and arrogant expression. As a sparring partner, my master doesn't need to take out such valuable elixirs. You should also express your gratitude, right? At least let the transaction value be equal, Jishan said unceremoniously. Baifei was stunned for a moment, then came back to his senses. His eyes finally moved from the elixir in Yu Xiangluo's hand to Zetian. "What's the meaning?" Zetian said in a not-so-good tone, "Now you have become stupid." Baifei instantly understood that Zetian was doing something good for his owner and himself, so he asked, "What do you want?" Seeing Baifei being so polite, Jishan said politely, "If you think the treasure in your hand is equal to the value of this elixir, just give it to that one." After finishing his words, he added, "You have no use for those things. You can only keep them for looking at. Those things are really useful only when they are in my master's hands." The corner of Baifei's mouth twitched. Even if it was no longer needed, it wouldn't bother anyone. Why should it be given to others? It's not easy to get that treasure. After living for more than 2,000 years, it has a total of I only got so many treasures. But looking at the elixir in Yan Xiangluo's hand, I felt that Zetian was right. It seemed that it was a bit shameful for me to take such a precious elixir just as a sparring partner. Bai Fei immediately jumped back into her cave. When Yan Xiangluo heard what Zetian said, her almond-shaped eyes rolled up at Zetian. She was a pet of a plant, but she still had a weak relationship. She had underestimated it, but she actually knew how to take advantage of it and rip it off. The key point was taken so naturally, so much so. Take it heartily. She knew without even thinking that the white rabbit monster went back to its cave to get its treasure. She felt a little embarrassed. She actually thought it was fair to exchange the elixir for her partner's sparring partner. But who would think that there were too many treasures? Zetian had already spoken. He must not be an ordinary treasure. Naturally, she would not delay Zetian. Hind legs. Alas, there is no other way. Who makes her spiritual pets both good at treasure hunting? Soon, Bai Fei came out of the cave, and a bead wrapped in demonic power flew toward the sky. As soon as the vine covering the sky stretched out, it wrapped around the bead. Bai Fei withdrew his demonic power, and only then did Yan Xiangluo see clearly what the rabbit demon beast was covering the sky. It is a blue bead, the color is as clean as the sky without a single cloud after the rain, spotless. And she has already sensed the rich water power inside. Maybe it's because her cultivation level is already at the senior level and her spiritual consciousness is stronger, so she can sense the power in the bead so easily. Zetian handed the blue bead to Yan Xiangluo. Master, is it okay for Bai Fei to use this bead and it as his sparring partner in exchange for elixirs? In fact, covering the sky is just a formality. If nothing is exchanged, the owner thinks it is okay. When Yan Xiangluo Zetian handed the blue beads to her, she was shocked, because the blue beads in front of her made the petals between the pangu flower fire beads and wooden beads hidden on her chest burn. There were already 3 beads on the pangu flower, a fire bead, a wooden bead, and a divine bead. The petals between the wooden bead and the fire bead were empty. At that time, she guessed that it was the position of the water bead. Now the petals burned when encountering this blue bead. Could it be that this blue bead is a water droplet among the 5 elements beads? Seeing Yan Xiangluo staring at the blue bead without saying anything, Zetian thought she didn't like it, and said, Master, if you don't like it, I'll ask Bai Fei to find another treasure. Yan Xiangluo came back to her senses, quickly took the blue beads and put them away. No need to change, just this bead. While speaking, he had already put away the blue beads. The beads need to be contracted with blood before they can enter the pangu flower. Now is not the time. Let the white rabbit monsters train you first, and then contract the water beads after leaving here. Jishan sees this and knows that the master likes it. That's good. It seems that I will get more treasures for my master from other monsters in the future. Let's get started, don't ask for mercy, Yan Xiangluo said to the white rabbit monster, and at the same time threw the elixir he had just refined to treat blocked meridians. The white rabbit monster was very disdainful after hearing her words. If he didn't show mercy, would she still be able to leave alive? However, when he saw the pill she threw over, he immediately felt that she could leave alive. Even if she couldn't, he would let her do it, just for her alchemy skills. If she died in his own hands, other monsters would definitely not let him live. There are many monsters in Wanghai Forest that need high-level elixirs. He is the first to exchange elixirs from the girl in the red dress, but he will definitely not be the last. If it dares to let the girl in the red dress die in its hands, not to mention other monsters, even Zetian may not spare it. Although Jishan is not as powerful as these monsters, they all know that Jishan is a spiritual plant with ancient power, otherwise it would not be able to find those tens of thousands of years of medicinal materials so easily. A ray of light flashed, and the elixir disappeared. Yan Xianglego didn't know where the white rabbit monster had placed the elixir, but she was sure that it had not eaten it. However, since the elixir has been given to it, she will not meddle in its own business. It is White Rabbit's right to give it to anyone. She only needs White Rabbit to give it its full sparring. Bai Fei said to Zetian, "Let your master come with me. This is my cave. It cannot be destroyed by fighting with your master." Jishan naturally understands that although it is a divine plant and does not need a cave, it understands the importance that animals, monsters, and spiritual beasts place on the cave. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 195. Chapter 195 Start Sparring. Zetian explained to Yan Xianglego, "Master, Bai Fei is taking us to find a suitable place for Master to train with us." Yan Xianglego nodded. It was really not good to fight in front of someone else's house. Not to mention Bai Fei's strength, even with her current strength, she could completely destroy someone else's cave in one round. Follow Bai Fei without any objection. Bai Fei jumped up and down in front, and Yan Xianglego followed calmly behind it. Looking at its cute movements, she felt that it was a bit incompatible with its strength. Soon, Bai Fei took Yan Xianglego to an open field and stood opposite Yan Xianglego, indicating that she could start. Yan Xianglego said directly, "You come and attack me to counterattack. If you attack the white rabbit yourself, you will inevitably be merciless. You will not get any training or improvement. It is better to be direct and let the white rabbit attack and she will fight back. This will be more effective." White Rabbit was stunned, and then said to Zetian, "I won't kill her, but injuries are inevitable." Bai Fei wanted to tell Zetian that since it was a battle, injuries were unavoidable. After all, there was a huge disparity in strength. "Don't let your master get injured and you would settle the score with me. It's better to say ugly things first." Jishan doesn't care about this. Even if it is a plant, it has been injured many times, even life-threatening injuries. Therefore, it didn't even need to ask Yan Xianglego's opinion, and said directly, "Don't worry, my master is taking action to improve his own strength. Injuries are inevitable and I won't blame you." Yan Xianglego could hear what Zetian said and said, "What Zetian said is what I mean. In a real battle, no one will care about the life or death of the other party." After receiving their assurance, Bai Fei was relieved. The aura on his body changed, and his figure suddenly grew several times. The cute white rabbit instantly turned into a giant overlord rabbit, with ruby eyes like two little suns, and his demonic power also changed from its body, erupted and rushed towards Yan Xianglego to attack. Yan Xianglego was also ready to fight. She did not take out the Changling spear, but was ready to fight the white rabbit monster with her bare hands and spiritual power. Bai Fei obviously did not use all his strength, only 5 points of force at most. Yan Xianglego knew how much force Bai Fei used when she took action, so she only used 5 points of force. The demon power and the spiritual power collided. Bai Dunzi's body did not move at all, but Yan Xianglego's body was knocked out and fell heavily to the ground. Bai Fei looked at Yan Xianglego and thought that it wouldn't work if he didn't know how to move, right? "I saw the fiery red figure leaping up from the ground and attacking again, faster than last time, with more spiritual power than last time, and Bai Fei's eyes like little suns gleaming with light. Praise secretly in my heart, yes, she looks like a delicate little girl, but she is very tenacious. Has also begun to take sparring seriously. It was because of the elixir trade before. Although it was a sparring partner, it was very careful and just had to deal with it. But now it is somewhat serious. No one dislikes people who work hard to make progress. Even if it is a monster, it has never given up on strengthening itself. Therefore, I admire this little human girl in front of me who has the talent of being a monster and is dedicated to becoming powerful. However, appreciation is appreciation." Yan Xianglego was knocked out again, Her red dress was dirty, and she also suffered some minor injuries, but Yan Xiangluo got up from the ground again. Bai Fei took the initiative to attack this time. Yan Xiangluo said that it needed to attack, and it also knew that its own attack would be more effective than Yan Xiangluo's attack. Just like that, the battle between one man and one giant rabbit began. The other monsters on the territory who had received the news were all watching, quietly observing their battle with their spiritual senses. At this time, they didn't know that Bai Fei had made a deal with Yan Xiangluo to become a sparring partner, and they were still wondering why Bai Fei took the initiative to be a sparring partner if he didn't avoid it. After all, they can see from the fighting situation that Bai Fei did not use all his strength. It was not a one-sided crushing, but more like a sparring match. Jishan has been watching quietly from the sidelines since the battle began. Even though he knows that Bai Fei will not hurt his master's life, he will still be cautious, not afraid of 10,000 but just in case. Its consciousness is the spiritual power of Xianxia, and it clearly feels that there are many monsters observing here. In this way, Bai Fei sparred all day long. Yan Xiangluo never used any weapons, but he forced Bai Fei to use his strength from 5 points to 8 points. Although Yan Xiangluo was injured more and more seriously every time, she didn't show any fear at all. She didn't even take elixirs for minor injuries. She took elixirs for serious injuries and continued fighting after recovering. However, what surprised Bai Fei was the speed of her progress. At this rate, it seemed that she wouldn't be able to practice for long. Originally, she planned to practice sparring for a month or two. After the sky completely darkened, Yan Xiangluo finally stopped and waved to Bai Fei, "That's it for today. We will still be here tomorrow. You can probably practice with me for another day tomorrow." Bai Fei's mood was shocked and complicated. He still underestimated the little girl in the red dress. No wonder Zetian recognized her as his master. He nodded, shrank his body back to its original size, and returned to its cave. This is also good, it can end the sparring session as soon as possible. When Bai Fei returned to the cave door, she saw several monsters waiting in front of her cave. It seemed that they were not here to grab territory. "Bai Fei, why are you willing to be a sparring partner for humans?" a monster asked. Of course, they were talking with their spiritual senses. "She traded with me a 6th grade perfect quality elixir, and I also gave her a treasure. She will probably have another day of training tomorrow." Bai Fei didn't hide it, they would know it sooner or later anyway. Once you know it, you won't want to take the pill from her. If you want to exchange it with her, just go and exchange it with her. The monsters were all shocked and said in disbelief, "A 6th grade elixir of perfect quality?" Yes, she made it on the spot. She is a 6th grade alchemist, much more powerful than those from the Chu family. Bai Fei made no secret of her appreciation and admiration for Yu Xiangluo. The monsters did not see Yan Xiangluo refining elixirs on the spot, so they did not know that Bai Fei had made a deal with Yan Xiangluo using elixirs, treasures and sparring partners. "You said you gave her a treasure? Can we also use the treasure to trade pills with her?" a monster asked thoughtfully. Bai Fei shook his head and said, "She is mainly looking for a sparring partner. I don't know if she is willing to do a direct transaction. You can ask her directly, or I can ask you when I am sparring again tomorrow." The monsters thought for a while and decided to let Bai Fei question them tomorrow. Bai Fei thought the same thing in his heart. He still had a few treasures, and if Yan Xiangluo was willing, he would like to exchange them for a few more pills. At this time, Yan Xiangluo didn't know that Bai Fei had already begun to promote business for her. She looked at her embarrassed appearance, but she was in a good mood. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 196. Chapter 196 5 Elements Water Drops. Only Xianxia herself understands how much she gained from this day's battle. Although the level of cultivation has not changed much, the cultivation level of the 6th level has stabilized, and the unsteady factors after advancing to a higher level have completely disappeared. In fact, she could continue fighting without stopping, but considering that she couldn't eat hot tofu in a hurry, and she had to practice step by step, her speed was already scary enough, so she couldn't be greedy anymore. She planned to sort out her thoughts at night so that the fight would be better tomorrow. Furthermore, she was anxious to see if the blue bead was a water droplet among the 5 elements beads. After White Rabbit left, she didn't care that she was in a mess. She found a place to sit down, took out the blue bead, bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood on it, nervously waiting for the bead's reaction. The drop of blood slid on the bead, and then disappeared into the bead. In an instant, the bead disappeared. Perception with his spiritual consciousness, sure enough, this blue bead is embedded between the wooden bead and the fire bead. It is indeed a water bead among the 5 element beads. Now there are 4 beads on the petals. 3 5-element beads, 1 divine bead, and the 5-element beads are just too short of each other. Xianxia couldn't believe it. When she got the fire beads, she thought it was a great opportunity. She really didn't expect that one day she would have so many 5-element beads. She had already gotten 3 of the 5. Looking at it like this, she and the 5 elements beads, no, maybe Xuanhuan and the 5 elements beads are predestined, so she was able to meet 5 elements beads one after another by chance. Now it seems that it is not a question of whether she thinks she can collect all the 5 elements beads, but when she should think about when she can collect them. At this rate, could she collect all the 5 elements pearls before leaving Tianqian continent? It is really possible. She was a little curious about what would happen if the panga flower was inlaid with 5-element beads. Also, about the dream she had on the day she got the divine bead, she always felt that her life would be even more bizarre after leaving Tianqian continent. The reason why she uses bizarre to describe it is that the development of things always exceeds her imagination. It is useless to think about it now. We have to wait until all the 5 elements beads are collected to know. Now she wants to try the power of the water system. After all, the power of the 5 elements pearl is incomparable to the power of the 5 elements she awakened. There is a difference between heaven and earth. Twisted her slender fingers, a column of water spurted out, and Xianxia was stunned for a moment. She just wanted to test the power of the water droplets and how much force they could use, but the water column was actually as thick as her arm. Although her arms are not thick, such water jets are scary enough. Xianxia looked at her hands in shock, and suddenly thought that her cultivation level was now at the respect level, and the power of the 5 elements was promoted in a balanced manner. Therefore, her water power was now at the level of the respect level, plus the 5 elements pearl water with the power of beads. It's not surprising that so much water can be produced with just one thought. She twitched the corners of her mouth speechlessly. It seemed that she would not be short of water in the future. Moreover, the aura of the water was particularly strong. When the water column fell to the ground, she saw that the weeds on the ground became much more energetic and even grew a little. Although it is not as exaggerated as the wood-type power to directly grow a large area, after all, it is not a pure vitality, but it can also be seen that it is very different from the weeds next to it. In contrast, these grasses that have been watered by the water droplets have sufficient nutrition. Grows strong and green, and the grass next to it looks malnourished at first sight. If people drink this, will it also have the effect of strengthening the body? Thinking of the fantasy books I read in another life about the spiritual spring water that cleanses scriptures and cuts marrow, I might as well look forward to it. Thinking of this, she used very little strength to condense some water and put it into her mouth. After drinking some, smack it in your mouth. Well, it's sweet, refreshing and delicious. After waiting for a while, I felt that my body had not changed at all. Is it that it has no effect or that I drank too little? She thought about it and drank some more, but there was no change. She continued to drink until she drank 2 large bowls of water, but her body still had no change. She sighed. Alas, she was overthinking. If the water power of the water beads does not have these effects, then what effect does the water beads of the 5 elements pearl have? It cannot just be drinking. After all, water cannot be used for fighting. I was confused and didn't think about it too much. Anyway, the water drops were already my own, so I had better clean up myself and understand the experience of today's training with the rabbit monster Bai-Fei. This is the most important thing. She could sense that since the battle with Bai-Fei, there had been many spiritual consciousnesses checking her, and she could not enter the Pangu space. I found a tree with particularly lush leaves, climbed up the tree, used the cover of the leaves to change my clothes, then washed my face with water drops, combed my hair, tidied myself up, sat cross-legged on the tree, and meditated. Begin to understand today's experience. At this time, the place where the 9 families live is very uneasy, just because the genius grandson of the head of the Su family of the Xuanhuan family has been back for nearly half a month, but no news about the Su family has been spread. In the past, every time this genius grandson came back, the Su family would call the heads of the Qin family and the Yu family, which were affiliated with the Su family, and some important figures the next day to have a meal and meet the grandson. Although it was not officially announced that he was the young master of the Su family, he also told everyone what the Su family meant. He was the next heir of the Su family. But this time it has been more than 10 days. Not only did the Su family not ask the Qin family and the Yu family to come over for dinner, the Su family even closed the door to thank guests, which attracted the attention of other families. Some people went to the Yu family and Qin family to inquire about news, and the Yu family and Qin family also closed their doors to thank guests. This is too abnormal. As a result, other families became nervous, wondering what the Su family was going to do. The 9 families are the families who were punished from the higher continent. They are restricted by the law of heaven and cannot leave here. Every time you leave here, your cultivation level will be lowered by a large level. When you come back, your cultivation level will not be restored to its original state. It will take a year of seclusion to recover. If you don't come back, you will never be able to reach the level of cultivation in your family in this life. Therefore, people from their 9 families would not go out unless they had no choice but to go out. In order to maintain the talent of the bloodline, they do not marry local mainlanders. However, in the past 20 years, young people's hearts have grown like grass, and they all want to go out and have a try. Just because no one from the 9 families has returned to the higher continent for nearly 300 years based on their cultivation. They want to go out and have a look. Even if their cultivation level is lowered by a large level, with their bloodline talents, they may be able to leave here as native mainlanders and return to the higher continent. But there are rules and restrictions on wanting to do this. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 197. Chapter 197 Is she here? You must leave the family before the woman and the hair-haired man are crowned, and cannot come back within 10 years after leaving. Only then can you have the qualifications to practice as a native. When your strength breaks through the clan level, you can leave here and go to the higher continent, completely getting rid of the punishment of the guilty family. Of course, you will still have to lower your cultivation level by half before leaving here. Your cultivation speed will be the same as that of mainlanders, so it will not be so easy to break through the clan level. Those over this age will never have this opportunity again, but the people in the family are not willing to let the children leave the family. There is only one reason. As long as they are in the punished families and successfully break through the emperor level in the family, they can return to the higher continent. If the number of people who return reaches 100, the entire family will be exempted from their guilt and can all return to the higher continent. Even if the descendants of the family who left before the hairpin and crown can successfully return to the higher continent, they are not included and cannot reduce the family's punishment. The younger generations who want to leave the family are all highly talented people and are the hope of the family. The family will never let them leave. Su Fiyun, the young master of the Xuanhuan family, was the first to leave. Although Su Yunfei is a woman, she is the one with the best bloodline talent of the Su family. She was named the young master of the Su family when she was 10 years old. She left here secretly when she was 12 years old. The Su family sent people to search for 6 years before they found her. At that time, she was already with a man and gave birth to a boy, who is now the Su family, the genius grandson. However, Su Yunfei was poisoned and died shortly after giving birth to her child. When the Su family found her, they only had time to see her one last time. In a fit of anger, he ignored the child. Later, he noticed that this child was a child with no outstanding bloodline in the family. Then he remembered this child. When he found this child, he was already 10 years old. His talent shocked them and they regretted it. I didn't take him back to the family to raise him. Although he lived a very wealthy life, he had a childhood without a mother. This child was indifferent to everyone. After getting to know the Su family, the child was unwilling to return to live in the Su family, but he would come back once a year. This child is Jizhe Kong. However, none of them knew that Jizhe Hong was born with poison from his mother's body. This matter was concealed by the Su family. In addition, Jizhe Hong's talent was indeed excellent, and his cultivation level was very high at a very young age. Even though he is high, no one thinks there is something wrong with his health. As for the rumors that he is in poor health, they all think that he is showing weakness and hiding his true talent. When he came back this time, people from all the families were curious about his current cultivation level. Bloodlines like Jizhe Kong were not restricted by the rules of heaven. No matter where he left, he would be considered a member of their family. They were all curious whether he had reached the peak of the 9th level. After all, they all believed that among the 9 families, the next person to break through and leave must be Jizhe Hong. Therefore, the Su family acted like this, which made them even more suspicious. In fact, this is not the case at all. The Su family is really uneasy now. The person who caused all this is practicing leisurely in his yard. Chang Feng came back from outside and glanced at Jizhe Hong who was practicing, and Jin Yutang looked at each other. The two communicated with their eyes for a moment, then stood quietly aside. Jizhe Hong noticed it as soon as Chang Feng came back. After a while, Jizhe Hong quit practicing. Opened his eyes and looked at Chang Feng. Is she here? Chang Feng shook his head and said, no, the people arranged near Long's house are watching, and no one has come to Long's house. Jizhe Hong narrowed his eyes. According to the time, that girl should have arrived a long time ago. Why hasn't she come yet? Chang Feng said again, Master, the girl came earlier than us. It has been 25 or 6 days since she entered Wanghai Forest. It is impossible that she has not arrived yet. Did she encounter any danger? In fact, what Chang Feng was thinking was that Yan Xiangluo might have died. After all, the monsters deep in Wanghai Forest were too powerful and she was no match for them. But I didn't dare to say it so directly, so I could only mention it tactfully. Jizhe Hong was speechless, but Chang Feng and Jin Yutang, who knew him well, knew that he was not in a good mood at this time. Suddenly, Jizhe Kong's eyes lit up, and the look on his face became much more relaxed. She should have gone to the 5 Elements spiritual lake. Chang Feng and Jin Yutang were stunned, and said in unison, is there a place where Miss Yu can go? Jizhe Hong raised the corners of his lips, have you forgotten that she has a 5-element spiritual root? The two people immediately understood what Jizhe Hong meant. They looked at each other and understood in their hearts that this was really possible. Only people with 5-system spiritual roots can absorb the 5-system spiritual lake. Others have not been able to do it in the past. Although Yan Xianglou has a 5-system spiritual root body, she is also a person with 5-system spiritual roots. She can absorbing the power inside. Maybe she will get a blessing in disguise, and this waste material body with 5 spiritual roots will become a genius body. Yutang, arrange for the hidden guards to go to the 5 elements spirit lake to have a look. If she is there, don't disturb her, Jizhong said again. Jin Yutang hurried out to make arrangements. To be on the safe side, he arranged for 3 hidden guards to go to Wuxi Linghu and ask them to find out if anything happened in the forest. After Jin Yutang left, Chang Feng said, "Master," the great elder asked the master again when he came out of seclusion. Jizhong raised the corners of his lips mockingly, "Let them wait." Think of what a few old guys said to him when he came back. They had arranged the candidate for the young master of the Su family. They were using this to threaten him to bow to them and make him agree to marry the Qin family. Let's just dream. They were wrong. He didn't even care about the throne of the Tianshan Empire, but he would care about the position of the young master of their guilty family. However, their attitudes also allowed him to make the final decision. There is indeed nothing to miss here. After settling his mother's matter, he will leave here and never come back. As for the help they gave him in those years, after he gained strength, he also helped them a lot, much more than they helped him. He didn't owe them anything, but they owed his mother a life. If it weren't for waiting for the little girl to come and see if I could help her in any way, after all, no matter how weak the Long family is, ordinary people would not be able to resist. Now that he understands his own heart, he will naturally not leave her alone. Let the Su family be worried for a few more days. If the girl really goes to Wuxi Linghu, he is not worried that she will be bullied if she goes to the Long family. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but raise the corners of his lips. Chang Feng beside him has become accustomed to it recently. During this period, the master often thinks about things by himself and becomes very happy. He doesn't have to guess, he knows that he must be thinking of Miss Yu. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 198. Chapter 198. What do you want? Sigh, the master cares more and more about the girl, but the girl doesn't seem to like the master at all. What should I do? Chang Feng was worried about his master's marriage in his heart, but he didn't know that his master was not worried at all. In Jizhong's heart, as long as he wants to work hard and do anything, he will definitely succeed, including marriage. But he forgot that there is a kind of woman like him in the world, who is persistent and resilient, and will not compromise easily. At this time, the head of the Su family and the elders were in the meeting hall. You looked at me and I looked at you. The head of the Su family complained that the elder had done things too badly, which obviously angered Jizhong. However, the elder's cultivation was the strongest among the Su family, and as the head of the family, he did not dare to provoke him. But what the elder was thinking about was that Jizhong was a little ungrateful. He was just like his mother. If his mother hadn't run away secretly, what would have happened now would have happened, and his goal would have been achieved long ago. First elder, what should we do now? Family leader Su looked at the first elder who looked bad and asked. The first elder glanced at the head of the Su family and said in a fierce tone, if he doesn't agree, he will send people out to destroy the royal family of the Tianshan Empire. The head of the Su family was shocked. The eldest elder wanted to finish the matter completely. The head of the Su family said tentatively, Elder, no matter whether he agrees to our conditions or not, whether he is willing to stay in the Su family or not, one day he left the lower continent for the higher continent, and he can be counted as one of the places left by our Su family. It's not harmful to us. Do we need to do it so well? The eldest elder glanced at him lightly. If there was only one place missing, I could bear this tone, but now I absolutely can't bear it. Even if our Su family is demoted to this place, we can't lose our spine. You are willing to give up to a mere head, the boy is on top of us. The head of the Su family actually wanted to say that as long as it was beneficial to the Su family, it would be fine. He had not been suppressed by the elder for so many years. Did he say anything? What are you complaining about? But he only dared to think about this in his heart. He knew that the great elder was not willing to listen to his words, but he was not willing to make the matter reach the point where the great elder said it. Tianshan Empire is one of the strongest empires in the lower continent, Tianqian continent. Destroying the royal family of the Tianshan Empire is equivalent to disrupting the order of power in the lower continent. Will Heavenly Dao allow it? If heaven does not allow the Su family to be demoted, and if they are punished again, I am afraid that their clan will be completely wiped out, so what is the point of doing all this? But the current chief elder obviously cannot listen to any words of dissuasion. The head of the Su family can only place his hope on other elders. The head of the Su family looked at the other elders and said, "What do you think, elders?" The other elders looked at Patriarch Su and then at the first elder, but no one said anything. Most of them agreed with Patriarch Su's words, but they did not dare to openly disobey the first elder. Therefore, they could only protect themselves by not getting involved in the conversation between the two. Seeing that they were silent, Master Su naturally understood what they meant and let out a long sigh. "Have you ever thought about the consequences of doing this?" the Su family asked in a solemn tone. Everyone looked at the head of the Su family and then at Mr. De Jong, thinking that doing so might bring disaster to the Su family. The elder also understood the meaning of Su's owner. He had a meal, and only he knew what the ultimate goal of Jizhong was so unwilling to give up now. He didn't get it from his mother back then. If he can't get it from him now, then his hope of leaving here and returning to the higher continent can be said to be completely destroyed. Between his own interests and the interests of the Su family, he chose his own interests without hesitation. But he also knew that he couldn't push people like the Su family into a hurry, as that would be detrimental to what he wanted to do. Then he relaxed and said, "Let's take a look at the situation first. I don't think he may be able to withstand it. Don't forget that this is the Su family and our territory, not his. No matter how talented he is, he doesn't have the strength to fight with our entire Su family. He must have compromised in the end, and things would not have come to that." The head of the Su family knew that this was the end of today's conversation. Fortunately, the great elder did not insist on taking action against the royal family of the Tianshan Empire. "Let's think of another way. Let's see if we can go see Jizhong and talk to him. The best result now is that Jizhong can take a step back and he is willing to privately give up benefits that satisfy Jizhong." After the conversation, everyone dispersed, and the Su family leader went to the courtyard where Jizhong lived, but Chang Feng still stopped him outside, saying that he was in the most critical moment of seclusion. The head of the Su family knew in his heart that Jizhong would not put such an important retreat in their Su family. For so many years, the child has never regarded the Su family as his own home. He knew this very well. All of Jizhong's cultivation promotions had never been carried out in the Su family. But this child's temperament in the past would not have delayed things for so long. Why was he so patiently spending time this time? The head of the Su family feels that his hair has turned gray from worry in the past half-month. Although he did not see Jizhong, the head of the Su family still asked Chang Feng to convey his intention to Jizhong. No matter what, as the head of the Su family, he must make the greatest efforts for the interests of the family. Chang Feng nodded, and then the head of the Su family left. Jin Yutang came back after the head of the Su family left, and reported to Jizhong what happened in the meeting hall, word for word. Jizhong's phoenix eyes flashed with a sharp edge. "Keep staring at the great elder. He will definitely make some moves in the past few days. You will soon know what he wants. Or what does he want to get from me?" Xuanhuan found out 3 years ago that the poisoning of his mother was not poisoned by outsiders at all, but had something to do with the Great Elder. But he never knew what the Great Elder's purpose was. After all, his mother is considered a junior in the lineage of the Great Elder, so it stands to reason that the relationship is still very close, and even if he doesn't protect her, he won't harm her. But the Great Elder not only used very vicious methods to kill his mother, the poison he administered would definitely kill her, but he could not die immediately. He asked the head of the Su family who the Su family was looking for when his mother gave birth to him. The head of the Su family said that it was the elder who found his mother. Therefore, Xuanhuan was sure that the Great Elder must have some purpose for his mother and threaten his mother with this poison, but it was unsuccessful. I don't know whether it was because his mother noticed something and never compromised, or because the Great Elder never made it clear. His mother didn't know the reason until her death. When he was born with fetal poison, he thought that he would not survive after seeing it, so he did not take action or pay attention to himself. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 199. Chapter 199, Scrambling to be the First. 10 years later, I heard that I was still alive and had good talents, so I decided to take myself back to the Su family. But his natural sensitivity saved him. Although he was only 10 years old at the time, he instinctively rejected the elder and refused to return to the Su family. However, he did not have a quarrel with the Su family and agreed to go back once a year. The main purpose is to find out the truth about his mother's death. Now that he has almost done the investigation, he only needs the purpose of the elder's action. Now that his poison has been cured and he has avenged his mother, Tianqian continent has nothing to miss him. As for Yan Xiangluo, he has never been worried. The girl will never stay here for long. He can wait for her to leave together. Early the next morning, Yan Xiangluo waited for the rabbit monster to come to continue sparring. As a result, they only practiced sparring for one morning, and Yan Xiangluo felt that there was no need to continue practicing. The rabbit monster hesitated for a moment, but decided to ask for those monsters. But it could only communicate with Jishan, so it said to Jishan, "The other monsters asked me to ask, is your master willing to trade pills with them for treasures?" Zhetian's eyes lit up. He was just worried about which monster he would be sparring with next, when this monster came to his door, and it wasn't even one. "Let me ask my master." After Zhetian finished speaking, he said to Yan Xiangluo, "Master, there are many monsters now who want to use their treasures to exchange for elixirs. What do you think, master?" "I think there is a concession. They can also agree to their sparring conditions." Yan Xiangluo became more and more fond of her spiritual pet stuffed with black sesame seeds. She nodded and said, "You can exchange the elixir for the treasure, but the prerequisite is that you must be my sparring partner." Jishan knew that his master would agree, so he said to the rabbit monster Baifei, "Tell them that my master agrees to exchange their treasures for elixirs, but the prerequisite is that they must be my master's sparring partner." Baifei was not surprised when she received the reply. After all, she had been training with her for a day and a half. She knew very well how hard this woman in the red dress had practiced. With her current level, she would benefit more from fighting monsters like them. Baifei hesitated for a moment and asked, "Can I still exchange my treasure with your master for elixirs?" It is not easy for them monsters to get a healing elixir. It is much harder than getting a medicinal plant that is 10,000 years old. Now it is difficult to find an alchemist who is willing to exchange elixirs with them, and he is also a 6th grade alchemist of perfect quality. It really doesn't want to miss it. Zhetian glanced at Baifei and said to Yan Xiangluo, "Master, Baifei still wants to exchange elixirs with master, is that okay?" Yan Xiongluo nodded and said, any monster that has been my training partner can exchange elixirs with me in the future. There is no limit to the quantity, as long as it has the same treasure. After Jishan told Bai Fei was very excited. Ask your master to wait for me for a while, and I will go back to get the treasure. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Fei disappeared. There was no need to jump, he just used his demonic power to leave. It wants to go back quickly to get the treasure and exchange it for a few more pills. If those monsters have to exchange it in the future, who knows how many elixirs Master Jishan has, in case they are gone. There is a reason why Yan Xiongluo did this. Monsters also have the dignity of monsters. Not all monsters are willing to be a sparring partner for a single elixir, but what if there is no limit to the number of perfect quality 6th grade elixirs? What monster could withstand such a temptation? It seems that in the next time, I won't have to take the initiative to find monsters as a sparring partner. One after another, monsters will take the initiative to be a sparring partner. She can choose the most suitable monster for her as a sparring partner, and maybe she can advance in cultivation level before reaching the spirit clan. Thinking about it makes her feel beautiful. After a while, Bai Fei came with his treasure, followed by several monsters. Seeing that Yan Xiongluo had actually exchanged several more elixirs for Bai Fei, and they were all perfect quality 6th grade elixirs. The hesitation he had before disappeared in an instant. They were all vying to be Yan Xiongluo's second sparring partner. Yan Xiongluo unceremoniously ranked them down according to their cultivation level. 1 monster per day. After sparring every day, they would exchange their treasures with her for pills. There was no limit to the quantity. As long as you can bring out something that she thinks is of equal value, that's fine. Therefore, when the hidden guards arranged by Jin Yutang went to the 5 elements spirit lake, they found that the power of the 5 elements in the spirit lake was almost gone, and the original colorful petal lake water could no longer be seen. They could walk around the lake without being disturbed. The 5 elements of power were repulsed. I knew in my heart that the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spiritual lake should have been absorbed by Yan Xiongluo, but it was so shocking that it was absorbed so cleanly. Now I am eager to see Yan Xiongluo Ren and want to know what level of cultivation she is at now. They quickly divided into 3 groups to inquire about the news in Wanghai Forest. The 3 of them got the same news. All the monsters in the forest rushed to be Yan Xiongluo's partner. The 3 of them all saw in each other's eyes the disbelief that Yan Xiongluo could actually make those monsters with strong cultivation levels take the initiative to be their sparring partners. Even their masters had not been able to do this. They remember very clearly that after the master absorbed the power of the 5 elements spiritual lake, one family after another came to fight with the monsters. The concubine was waiting where she was, while the monsters lined up obediently and got on the pole one by one to serve as sparring partners. When they found Yan Xiongluo, they found out that she had exchanged elixirs with the monsters for sparring opportunities, and had also taken away many treasures from the monsters, which made them envious. Yang Xiongluo here was in high spirits and looked miserable. There were 3 people there, 2 of whom were left to protect her secretly. One of them hurried back to report to Jizhong. MSU has already reached the 6th level, and she is still working so hard. She feels like she will soon catch up with her master. If she can't, she must tell her master quickly. Jizhong didn't feel nervous after receiving the news, but instead felt even happier. As expected, this girl absorbed the power of the 5 elements from the 5 elements spiritual lake and broke through to a large level. Originally, he wanted to find a chance to take her to the 5 elements spiritual lake, but he didn't expect that she would have the opportunity. Encountered the 5 elements spirit lake. She looks completely different now than when I saw her for the first time 3 years ago, when she was covered in blood and her appearance was unrecognizable. Who would have thought that she would change so much between 3 years ago and 3 years later? If those in the Tianshan Empire knew about it, they might not even have the face to see her. Changfeng and Jin Yutang clearly felt that their master was getting better and better. Alas, now only Miss Yu can make the master feel better. But, master, you can't enjoy yourself like this. You need to hurry up and get your wife back. Time passed very quickly, and 10 days passed in a flash. Changfeng came in hurriedly and reported, Master, the first elder secretly met with an elder of the Long family. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 200. Chapter 200 The Storm and Undercurrent. Ji Zhong's eyes turned cold. It seemed that his mother's poisoning was not just the elder's fault. There were other families involved. Are only people from the Long family of the spiritual clan participating, or are there also people from other families involved? Ji Zhong thought for a while. What did they say? Changfeng said, I can't hear you. They all used sound transmission. However, the elder of the Long family gave the elder a box. I don't know what's inside. Ji Zhong narrowed his eyes after hearing this. Box? What the Long family is good at is nothing more than the power of controlling souls, but this ability can only be used by oneself. However, if one's strength reaches a certain level, it can be controlled through some media without being present. Ji Zhong suddenly raised his head, with a sharp cold light in his eyes. He knew what was going on. He also knew what the Great Elder wanted from him. Is it the Elder of the Long family who is meeting the Great Elder? Ji Zhong asked. 13 elders, Changfeng reported back. The elders of each family are ranked according to their strength, and the position of each elder is not static. As long as your cultivation level is higher than that of the elder in front of you, you can take his place. Or you can defeat the elder in front of you, or you can take his place in the ranking. However, the one who can become an elder is not super strong and cannot be easily surpassed and defeated. Each family has 15 elders each, but those with more than 10 elders almost have no say. In fact, the only ones who have the right to say are the first elder, the second elder, and the third elder. The 13 elders of the Long family obviously have little presence in the center of power of the Long family. Each family prohibits elders from having private contact, so the eldest elder of the Su family and the 13th elder of the Long family met secretly. If they can risk violating family rules to do so, there must be higher interests that can drive them to do so. Secretly check the 13th elder of the Long family to see what he is most concerned about, Ji Zhong said to Changfeng. Changfeng responded and then said, the master of the family is here again and has brought 10,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Ji Zhong glanced at the kinkan bag handed over by Changfeng and asked Changfeng to keep it. He had no need for spiritual stones in his cultivation now, even if they were high-grade ones. Just tell him that I have no intention of destroying the Su family. Ji Zhong knew what the head of the Su family meant. It's nothing more than trying to sell yourself a good deal, so that you can take a step back and not make things worse. The 10,000 pieces of high-grade spiritual stones must be from the Su family master's own private treasury, and they have been saved for many years. This is coming from his own pocket, hoping that he will take a step back for his sake. You can retreat from anything, but he cannot retreat from this matter. But he also clearly told the head of the Su family that he had no intention of destroying the Su family, but he would never give up on what he wanted to do. After Changfeng conveyed the words, the head of the Su family sighed helplessly. Although he did not achieve his expected goal, he was satisfied with Ji Zhong's assurance. Although he didn't know Ji Zhong's purpose, his intuition was that it was related to the Great Elder, and he knew that Ji Zhong was investigating his mother's affairs, and the person who found his mother was the Great Elder. If there was nothing wrong with it, I don't believe it. It's just that he has no way of knowing what the Great Elder did. Since Ji Zhong promised not to destroy the Su family, he should wait and see what happens. Among the 9 families, strength is respected. After all, the purpose is to return to the higher continent, which has also cultivated the strength of the 9 families. People are very indifferent to feelings. It doesn't matter to him who becomes the great elder. It doesn't matter to him whether Xuanhuan wants to stay in the Su family or not. Just like what the great elder said, it's not like they can go back to the higher continent if only one person is promoted. The Su family is in an undercurrent, and the Long family is also in trouble. The family power center is also divided into two factions. It's all about Yan Xianglue. One group is in favor of what she did to her mother before, deceiving people back. As long as she gets to their Long family's territory, she can't leave. After all, unlike her mother, she has a super talented person. Husband. The other group feels that they have gained nothing from her mother's actions, so it is better to tell her frankly, so that maybe she will help, or give her some benefits. Whatever she wants, as long as the Long family has it, give it to her. Now the two groups were arguing constantly. At this moment, they got the news that Yan Xianglue had come to the depths of Wanghai Forest a long time ago, and had also absorbed the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spiritual lake, breaking through to the 6th level of the supreme level. Using her identity as an alchemist, she made a deal with the monster, exchanging the elixir with the monster for the opportunity to be a sparring partner, and there was also a treasure in the monster's hand. As a result, Yan Xianglue would not look down on anything they gave her. Now the opinions of the two factions seem to be unworkable. If you want to use force, your cultivation level has already reached the 6th level. You want to exchange benefits, but the treasure they got from the monster is richer than the Long family, so they don't like it. The head of the Long family and the elders discussed it all day but still couldn't come up with an idea, so they didn't dare to act rashly. Yan Xianglue didn't know anything about this. Before she could wake up from the joy of consolidating her cultivation, she was stunned by the surprise of being promoted. She actually advanced again. Although she only advanced to the 1st level, it was enough to surprise her. After all, this is a senior level of cultivation. People may not be able to break through it in more than 10 years. She has advanced to the 1st level in just a few days. When she calmed down, she also realized that she could no longer fight the monsters. It was not a good thing to advance too quickly. Although her cultivation was stable and timely, could her level keep up? Therefore, she decided to go to the Long family of the Spirit clan and practice again when she came back. On the way, she could ponder the mysterious patterns and study the elixir recipe. Although she is already the highest level alchemist in Tianqian continent, becoming a 6th level alchemist is not the end. The book Yilu given by her parents, the prescriptions given by Master Qinhe, and the prescriptions in the ancient alchemy books shown to her by Master Cheng'an all have 7th, 8th, and 9th grade prescriptions. The lower continent does not allow her to refine elixirs of grade 7 or above, but she will have to go to the higher continent sooner or later. Now that she has done the research, she can upgrade her alchemist level as soon as possible. Those monsters who were not scheduled to be a sparring partner were disappointed when they heard that she no longer needed a sparring partner for the time being. They had not yet exchanged for the elixir. But when they heard that Yan Xianglue said that she would continue to use them as a sparring partner when she came back from the spirit tribe, they were all happy again. Yan Xianglue walked all the way to the spirit clan. Because of her harmonious trading relationship with the monsters, she was safe deep in the Wanghai forest, which was feared by everyone. Zhao Tian helped her collect herbs along the way, and she made elixirs, carved mysterious patterns, and headed to the spirit clan in a relaxed and comfortable way. The eldest elder of the Su family took the box given to him by the 13th elder of the Long family and went to the back mountain. Uge, who had been punished and thought about his mistakes, was here. End of this chapter.